like we regularly chat about better learning design. And I guess what I keep thinking about is that word e-learning and the negative connotations that it still has in around the industry. And I don't know, like, I don't know if that's just us because we're so close to that type of content, or, whether in industry, like in businesses, the word e-learning is still sort of frowned upon, or people, when they say, have you done your e-learning? People go, oh God.
Yeah,
And
it
like,
comes with a groan.
yeah, it does. It comes with that, oh God. It's not a positive feeling that that word creates. And so we've actively said, well, we don't want to use that word e-learning only in a negative sense where we're trying to change things, but like we use the word digital learning, but is that any better? And like, is anyone in the business going to go, have you done your digital learning? It's always going to be called e-learning.
It's an interesting point that I guess,
Yes.
what can we call it? I mean, you've put me on the spot there. I think, yeah, I agree in terms of, I don't think either of those connotations really work in the workplace. You wouldn't tell someone you need to do your e-learning, you need to do your digital learning. I mean, that's what we kind of label as what we produce. And I much prefer the use digital learning because it's quite all encompassing, and that's what we're trying to do, not just like you say, click next and then move on. But I guess it is something like growth. Growth is the key thing. Yeah. Development, that's a nice word. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like we need to get. If we just called it learning, if people said, "Oh, have you done your learning this week?" Even that feels a bit more positive than e-learning. And
Mm.
why, it doesn't matter that it's digital and on screen, or whether it's face to face or virtual classroom.
Champion, I quite like the term, maybe personal development courses.
Yeah, yeah,
We can
yeah.
utilize that because, again, going back what I've said before is that I think learning is such a key thing for us all to do, and at the roots of it, we enjoy it. We want to grow. We want to develop. Yeah, I'd be excited if it's like, right, have you done your personal development today? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. That sounds fun. What am I going to learn today? What's going to change me?
So even that, right? Have you done your personal development, or have you done your learning, or have you done your growth, or however it is? Even that feels like that's quite heavy, right? I've got set time aside. Sometimes I've got to plan it in, and it doesn't need to be like that, does it? Because I
No,
always say sometimes it's just semantics. Because like, even if you just said, what have you learnt today? That could be an article that you read on the website, or, that you were going through socials and oh, I didn't know that. But you still learned something. And then probably from that, you're going to go, right, you're probably going to go down a rabbit hole and start learning even more, like the YouTube rabbit
yeah,
hole, or
that's it.
like as my wife was saying the other day, the Timu rabbit hole that she just keeps looking at.
Really, yeah.
It's the same
End up
sort of
buying the
thing,
most
isn't it? It's like,
random thing. What is this? Some
but then
crazy
if someone
kitchen
said,
tool.
"Oh, yeah, what have you learned?" Then
Yeah.
that sort of has a different vibe to it, doesn't it? Because it could be just a little snippet of information. I keep having these little chats with Gemini as well, and like I really enjoy just having a random conversation with Gemini and seeing what I start learning. But like, it
Why not?
doesn't feel like
Well, it's
if
the new
someone said, "Have you
YouTube
done
rabbit
your?"
hole, I guess. You're going
Yeah,
down a
yeah.
Gemini rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah. But so my thought is, it doesn't always have to be heavy. And when we say, have you done your learning or your growth or your CPD, that surely should just be a snippet sometime of information. And
Yeah.
then, like, because even if it's like a mandatory thing, fire safety training, for example, I could have a conversation with Gemini and go, like, tell me about, all about fire safety and which fire extinguisher do I need to use. And
Yeah.
I've probably learned something from that.
Yeah,
What I
future,
haven't
yeah.
done is formally recorded it on an LMS and it's gone onto some report and someone says, tick, they've done it. It's got a completely different vibe though to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, again, with this day and age, like, people are actively looking at learning and growing. So, I mean, Duolingo for a start is right up there. It's not like they've got to sit down for 20, 30 minutes to go through and practice. They just do it for quick 5 minutes, do a quick lesson here and there. And they're wanting to do it. And obviously, it's very well designed in terms of the rewards and bonuses and things to keep you active. But obviously, things like that we can do ourselves. There's nothing stopping us. And yeah, I mean, that's just one example, but there's many out there where it's like you can write diaries in terms of, yeah, your feelings and personal growth and, yeah, loads of things out there. So it's, people aren't adverse to doing the learning anymore. It's just that type of learning and how we position it. And yeah, it's that, whether it's the growth of maybe bite-sized learning, maybe flexible learning is something that we could look at calling it, because we don't really do that.
The limitation is if I do all that on Gemini or you do it on Duolingo and someone else does it on YouTube, and we might come out with the same level of information, like I know what to do, I'm curious what to do, and I can actively do it. That's the outcome, right? But if I do it in different ways, there's still a business requirement to go. I need to capture, I need to show a report to the board that says everyone is trained to this level.
Yeah, yeah,
And the only way that that's being achieved at the minute is sheep dipping everyone. And maybe there's a different component you see, but essentially it's still sheep dipping everyone. So the challenge is, how do we capture all that from different environments and go, yeah, they're trained. And then when we get into this conversation about, how we want to eradicate e-learning, like traditional click next e-learning, like there's no need for it, is there? What is that? Just because businesses are doing what they've always known to do and it's the easy route, do you think?
yeah. I guess that's the progression of most things in life until you get that. I mean, what's the word? Disruptor who'll come in and be like, right, let's do something different. I mean, I know we coined the term click next learning quite a lot now, but to be honest, it's not that. It's scroll learning, and that, to be honest, I think needs to be moved on from and be more immersive, more suited to the tech that's used, and more positioned to the user. Because at the moment, there's a lot of courses now that are getting produced, especially on maths with the use of AI, where it's just repetitive components and it scroll click learning. That's what it fundamentally is. And then you get to the bottom of the page and it goes, well done, you've done that. It's, yeah.
She gone from e-learning that's a single frame, because that was easy. So traditionally, what that looked like was a business's corporate colours and branding in a single frame, and you click next, just like you did on PowerPoint.
Well, to
And
be
like,
fair, by
yes,
the end of it with Flash, before it went, we were doing some quite fun stuff with it, because you could animate it and you could do some really interesting things. Obviously, the death of ActionScript and Flash in the browser, it went, and with the rise of mobile devices, obviously things like adapt and responsive web pages came in. But luckily, and I think we're looking at the rise of it, and I know us, especially at Mindboost, are looking at new tech and plugins to start bringing in that kind of micro animations, immersive stuff. And I'm really excited by that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can produce. And again, move away from that scroll click learning.
yeah. Because that's what I was thinking about this morning, was why did we actually do that framed click next? And that was because the technology lent itself really well to that. Mobile devices weren't as pervasive, I guess is the right word. And then, as the smartphone, sort of disrupted the market and the masses have now, everyone's got a smartphone essentially. That's where scroll, click, is sort of succeeding. But you're right. Now we're getting quite, people are getting smarter in what they expect to see and how
Yeah.
they expect to interact. So now I think we're still in this place where scroll click is probably the mass of what we're doing. But yeah, how do we make that more immersive? And then when we tie that in with how do you create a feeling in someone that's micro animations and imagery and how you present some of that text. That's the sort of the next stage that we're doing. But we've always got to be mindful that we've got to meet our customers where they are at the minute. So like we're looking almost, future gazing and going, this is reality now. But if our clients are still not ready for it, we've got to try and meet them a little bit, haven't we?
100%. And I think, as always, at the core of it is good UX design. And that's what, again, we do, where we do focus on the client. We make sure, right, what devices are being used. Because again, you can design a course that works for every device, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know the stats now, but I'm still pretty sure there's like, it's still like 70% of learning is still done sitting at the desktop. So let's design for the desktop. Let's not do a kind of halfway house of like, yeah, it's okay on the desktop, but it can still work on your phone, but no one's actually looking on the phone. So, well, let's just make it really good purely on the desktop. And then also it can go the opposite way. If they are using it completely on their phone, make sure it's catered for that. Simplify it. People don't want
Yeah.
super complicated stuff where it's really deep scrolling. They can't see half of the thing on screen. Design it specifically for a mobile screen. And that all goes back to the UX design, really, and doing that research. And then we can start being like, oh, well, we could add this kind of cool animation in here and all this funky stuff.
And I think, like we say, it's different for different businesses, and those different businesses have different audiences, don't they? Because we deal with a lot of people that, frontline colleagues operating in, hospitality and industry. That's probably mobile first, and then there's a small proportion of desktop. But then we also deal with clients that, as you say, a proportion of desktops, and there's a small sort of fringe case of mobile. So yeah, you've got to really think about how do you simplify. The best websites that you come across are not full of stuff that you go, oh my God, I don't know how to move
Yeah.
around and what to navigate. Like they're the most complicated ones, aren't they? And the best websites that you find now are just doing these subtle little things that you go, I know exactly where to go and what to do and find the information. What we
100%.
always we always say, like with design as well, it's the same with the messaging and the tone of it as well. So, like, what's the lasting memory? Because usually, like, if you speak to someone, there's 10 things that they must remember, but really, when you boil it down, it probably comes down to one, two, or three things
Mm.
that you go, they're the killer things that someone needs to walk away with. And if you can build that into a nice sort of UX design as well, you've sort of done both, really, haven't you?
Yeah, and our attention spans now are just awful. Like, we've got to recognize that. So, yeah, we're so used to now is, yeah, quick bite-sized stuff, quick look on the phone. Like you say, you then get distracted, you start looking at something else. But perhaps if we kind of think things like all these little bits of bite-sized learning that you can suddenly duck in and dive and follow a weird little trail and go down a learning hole kind of thing, but it's all relevant to the subject matter. That could be quite interesting. You get those really crazy ones where it's like these 10 things you didn't realize happened, or like this celebrity, see what they look like now, shocking stuff. But you could kind of put twists on that in like a learning environment, which, yeah, could be quite fun. And yeah,
I like the idea of that. Look at your CEO now. Now they've done some better e-learning than they used to do.
yeah, exactly. Where are
Maybe
they
we ought
now?
to
You
flip
wouldn't
it.
believe
Yeah,
it. Click, click back. Keep learning.
I like it. Do
Yeah,
you know, I like what we're coming up with here. So we're just created a learning hole which people just get sucked into.
yeah,
And now we've done the opposite of that clickbait stuff. Look at how these celebrities look now. And you
yeah.
always expect them to look terrible. Well, we want to flip
That's it.
that to go, look at how people look now.
Should we trademark it? Clickbait learning. You heard it here
Yes.
first.
I I feel I'm not sure we've hit Ben's brief here, but we certainly talked about what learning could look like as opposed to what it shouldn't look like. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, again,
Yeah.
like
I mean, again, like
I keep on saying it, it's all about the user. You've got to think about the user. You can create some wonderful things, really flash whizzy things, but at the end of the day, it may not hit home. They may not learn or take away anything. I think I mentioned to you before, I sent you a really nice example. I love a good storytelling web page where, like, as you scroll, you kind of stuff animates on and you read, and it's really immersive. It's quite slow. And this was a really nice example, except that my one takeaway was that my finger hurt because I was scrolling so much just for literal sentences to appear. So that in a use case would just not be usable. But take that technology and see what we can do with it. But yeah, again, like you mentioned, there is a good argument of keeping stuff simple because look, people need to absorb it, make it fun,
it's
make it
fun.
interesting, make them, yeah, lots of things to concentrate on. And yeah, I think there's going to be a death of scroll click learning. Click next learning's way gone. It's scroll click learning now.